Welcome to Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. A world where coming in second place is not an option, but where principle-centered winning is the only approach.
Good morning and welcome to Government Contracting Weekly. I'm your host, Hilary Fordwich. As anyone in the government contracting community knows, our industry has gone through significant changes over the past years, and changes in the way we do business require changes in the way we all think. In that regard, I know you'll benefit from hearing from our cutting-edge guests today. Our show opens with Jim Jaska, President, Government, AECOM, where we discussed challenges in all of those aspects of the professional services market. After Jim Jaska, you'll see a conversation I recently had with Angela Stiles, partner and head of the Government Contracting Group at Crowell & Moring, along with Rob Burton, who joins us as a fellow from NCMA. Both Angela and Rob participated in this year's NCMA World Congress panel of past OFPP administrators. Lastly, we'll hear from Bill Keating, Managing Director, Government Advisory Practice at BDO, in our Ask the Expert segment. There's a lot of ground to cover, so let's get right to it. This morning, I'm delighted to have with me the president of AECOM's government division, and that is Jim Jaska. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Hilary. Glad to be here with you.
Thank you very much for coming in. And you have a huge responsibility, actually over 45,000 employees, a multi-billion-dollar business. Tell us a little bit about AECOM and your background in coming to the firm years ago.
Oh, sure. AECOM is a global provider of professional and technical services, as well as management support services to various end markets, civil infrastructure, transportation systems, water, energy systems, buildings, commercial buildings, industrial buildings, institutional buildings for both government and civilian customers, as well as our resource and industry business, supplying the same services to the oil and gas industry, the pharmaceutical industry, as well as the manufacturing industry, plus the business that I'm responsible for, the government business.
So it's easier for me to ask you what you don't do. That would have been a quicker answer, right?
Well, it's a large corporation. We have over 45,000 people, as you indicated, and we operate in over 140 countries around the world. And so the way we operate is really providing the services ranging from planning services through design, architecture, all the way through engineering and management, program management, project management, construction management, and then to operation and maintenance for these customers, government customers, national governments like our U.S. government, other governments around the world, state and local governments, as well as the private sector. And we do that through the end markets, which are the technical services, and the geographies, which present our local presence to our clients for delivery of solutions to complex problems.
As you've heard, AECOM is vast with diverse services in many different geographies, and at the helm we have Jim Jaska. So Jim, your background includes diverse experience, but on the other hand, very specific in order to lead AECOM. Share with us the aspects of your background that you find really are helping AECOM the most.
Well, Hilary, I've been in the government contracting arena in the private sector for over 35 years, starting early in my career with the aerospace and defense industry, and then moving into the professional technical services industry, and joined AECOM about almost 10 years now, and with a focus on providing these services and growing the business in the government sector. And I've been certainly had the great pleasure of operating in numerous responsibilities, both at the corporate level, as well as the operations level, business development, as well as finance. And my interests, you know, and I think the interests of the company also not only support professional requirements of servicing clients, but also being a part of the community. So I have affiliations with not only the Trust for the National Mall, but also the Presidential Precinct and the National Building Museum. And then professionally, I'm on the board for the U.S. Chamber, the Professional Services Council, and I'm also involved with the Society of American Military Engineers.
So very diverse that you bring to the firm, a lot of leadership. And so you really get what's going on in the nation as well as just the government sector.
Well, our business is complex.
Yes.
And I think it's very important that leaders in our industry, the government services industry, have a broad perspective, not only to manage their enterprises, but also help our customers through some challenging times that we certainly see today and probably into the near future.
Yeah, the bigger picture, and I'd like to get into some more of what you see as those challenges.
Sure. I think some of the challenges we see is the changing landscape of the budgets and the requirements that contractors like AECOM and other firms around the United States and around the world are providing. And I think this challenging budgeting environment, the changing requirements, certainly adds a lot of dimension to procuring services, to proposing on services, and then ultimately delivering on services to clients.
Right. Just in case you're not totally familiar in terms of what the definition is of professional, technical, and management support services, I'm sure, Jim, you can define that well for our audience.
Well, Hillary, our business is segmented in two segments. We're a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange, and we report to our shareholders in these two segments, which actually are a nice definition and delineation of our services. Our professional technical services are services that range from planning services onto design architecture, for instance, as well as other design services. Our engineering services ranging from mechanical engineering all the way to civil engineering and everything in between. Our project management, construction services all fit into this solution-based service delivery that we call professional technical services. Our management
one segment.
It's one segment, and the other segment is our management support service, and that tends to be on the operations side. So when we look at a life cycle of assets, whether it's a building, a wastewater system, or an airport, these assets have life cycles, and AECOM really provides services to the entire life cycle, including operation and maintenance, our logistics business, facility management, our intelligence business through information technology, as well as our international development solutions and services. And we classify those types of services as our management support services.
And then both are offered to the government?
Both are offered to the government, and actually both are offered to all clients around the world for AECOM customers.
So you're matrixed by the two segments and then across all segments?
We are.
Yes.
We're matrixed by services, by end markets, and then delivery.
A complex structure.
A complex structure, but I think it's really efficient in terms of delivering services seamlessly as a global corporation. We have a saying in the company that you can't be global unless you're local.
Yes, global strategy, local implementation.
Absolutely, and I think we have aligned our organization for delivery around that strategy.
And you have expertise then end-to-end too, which is what the customer wants.
The customers are buying end-to-end solutions, especially for the U.S. government, where problems are very complex. The solution is delivered in all types of environments. And it's delivered in all types of countries, from developing countries to emerging countries to countries of conflict to developed countries. Mm-hmm. And I think what we see in our business is that one solution, one service doesn't fit every problem.
Right, yes, has to be tailored, no nuances.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah, thank you. As our regular viewers know, Key Solutions is the force behind Government Contracting Weekly. Key Solutions provides strategy, capture and proposal support services to help all government contractors win. So we're very interested in, always, and I know our viewers are particularly interested because we had a lot of feedback on this, what are the keys to AECOM winning? Why have you been such a success, and what do you view as critical in terms of your winning in this particular milieu versus particularly in the past?
Well, I wish I knew the secret sauce to winning. But I think for AECOM and our ability to win our fair share of contracts around the world, I think it boils down to understanding requirements. I think that is so critical when project plans and proposal plans are developed, and ultimately cost and price is...
And demonstrating to the government that you understand them.
The past experience is so critical, I believe, to winning. And the other part of, I think, our advantage in the marketplace is to be able to have capability knowledge locally when the government has deployments outside the United States. Mm-hmm. I think we're able to demonstrate that we don't have to learn on the job to understand and deliver solutions. We have been in these various locales around the world, whether it's Asia, whether it's Europe, whether it's Africa or the Middle East, mm-hmm. Latin America, or North America. And we have in-depth capability and a strong bench in these areas to deliver these solutions.
Because it's more than the languages, it's the entire cultural milieu in those countries.
It's the culture, it's the business requirements, it's the technical capability, and it's a seamless delivery with partners and other relationships in country.
And that's something that somebody else can't just say they can do if they haven't. So
well, international companies, I think, do projects around the world, mm-hmm. but projects start and stop. Global companies have indigenous capability around the world, and business continues beyond the projects. And when you become a part of the community, you become a part of the fabric of decision making, I think that provides a significant differentiator for our U.S. government customer as they have missions around the world.
Yes, and they want that. Well, thank you so much, Jim, for coming in this morning.
You're very welcome.
And sharing all your expertise. I can tell your background in business development, you really understand and get business development part of your success.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks to Jim Jaska for sharing with us the incredible AECOM success story. Now let's turn to Angela Stiles and Rob Burton for their perspective on the past OFPP Administrators Panel at the recent NCMA World Congress. The National Contract Management Association, NCMA, recently hosted its annual World Congress in Nashville, Tennessee. This leading educational event, which offered over 20 educational tracks for the acquisition community, was attended by over 1,000 acquisition professionals from both government and industry. One of the plenary sessions was a panel of former administrators of the Office of Federal Procurement Policy, the OFPP. That's the office within the executive office of the president responsible for the development of government-wide acquisition regulations and policies. One of the former OFPP administrators who participated on the panel is Angela Stiles, co-founder of the Government Contracts Practice Group at Crowell & Moring, a Washington, D.C. law firm. We're fortunate this morning to have both Angela Stiles and Rob Burton, a former deputy administrator of OFPP and now a partner at the Venable law firm in Washington, D.C. Rob moderated this panel of former OFPP administrators at the NCMA World Congress, and I'm delighted you're here, Rob, because I thought this morning you could share with us what were some of the major takeaways, some of the things that you thought were very important from that particular panel.
Well, and it was a lot of fun to do. There were 4 administrators, including Angela, on the panel. And NCMA had never had a panel of this nature before, and it was totally question and answer format. So I started asking the administrators questions, and then for one half of the panel, and the second half of the panel, the audience actually presented questions. And I think the most significant issues, when you look at all the questions that were asked for an hour and a half, really was concern about the fiscal crisis facing our acquisition community, sequestration, no money for training, no money for procurement purposes, and the challenges that the acquisition workforce are facing in this terribly difficult environment. Also, there was a lot of concern expressed about the increased role of the inspector generals and auditors in our contract administration process. They're much more active than they've ever been before.
And they're really feeling it, so everybody there could really feel this, but then industry got to experience what's really happening, I guess.
Yeah, exactly,
Yes.
and I think that communication is so important, to have that communication between government and industry. And the NCMA World Congress really provides that opportunity for that kind
They
of communication.
facilitate it, unlike a lot of organizations
Exactly.
that can talk about it but can't actually have the people there. So Angela, thank you, Rob. Angela, one of the issues that just, Rob is mentioning, sequestration, huge issue. What was the general feeling about the impacts that have been felt, and how long is it going to continue?
I think the general feeling was that the most significant impact is on the federal workforce, where you would have somebody in a program or a contracting officer working 60 hours a week before, they can only work 32 hours a week. And, and a significant portion of their pay is being taken away. It has absolutely affected the morale of the workforce, whether it's contracting officers or program people. It also has affected the ability to attract people to the workforce. You're not going to get new people into the federal workforce, and you constantly have to have new blood into the workforce.
And particularly not the best and the brightest anymore.
That's exactly
Yes.
right. Why would you come to a place where you're not going to be able to work one day a week, and where your pay is going to be significantly affected and the morale is low, and you really just don't have enough hours in the day to get your job done?
So Rob is also a fellow at NCMA, and as he just mentioned, NCMA provides a unique opportunity for industry and government to have a dialogue together, to be communicating, because there's a great degree of concern generally in the government contracting community. There isn't the same kind of transparency or communication. What was discussed at the World Congress on that topic?
Well, this is becoming a serious problem, the lack of communication, the lack of transparency in our acquisition process. As a matter of fact, OFPP recognized this as a problem a couple of years ago, and they issued 2 memorandums which were called Mythbusters. And
Dan Gordon.
Exactly.
Started that, yes.
He issued these, and I think it was a recognition of the growing problem of lack of transparency and lack of communication. And the memos were supposed to dispel myths about what types of obstacles there are between communication between government and industry. And I didn't realize, Hillary, the problem was so significant until I moved to the private sector, and I really saw what contractors were facing as far as getting information from the government.
How severe
it's
it
very
is.
difficult.
Yeah.
And this problem was definitely expressed during the panel discussion at NCMA, and what can be done about it. And really the feeling among the participants on the panel was there has to be more top management support for that kind of communication. I remember just recently a contracting officer telling me, look, I don't meet with contractors because I don't have time. I could never get my job done if I meet with contractors and hear about their problems. Well, management has to communicate to contracting officers like this that this is your job.
This
your
is a
job
priority too.
is to really
Yeah.
communicate and listen to contractors, especially during the market research phase of a procurement, because that is when the government learns about the capabilities industry has to meet a lot of the agency mission requirements.
Right. Do you think, Angela, given that there are obviously directions that are going that are positive, what about the increased scrutiny, though? I understand that was a big issue at the World Congress, oversight, audits. How is the feeling of the scrutiny? Is it intense? Has it increased?
One of my favorite discussions at the MCNA was the discussion of the amount of regulations that contractors, contracting officers, program people have to understand. I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of regulations. They are different for every federal agency, and now you're seeing an incredible amount of increased enforcement, which means you really do have to cross your T's and dot your I's and understand the regulations on both sides of the coins. Both the government and the contractors have to make sure they're doing it precisely as the regulations require, or they're going to face a lot of scrutiny from inspector generals, DCAA, Congress, and others.
As I mentioned, the World Congress that NCMA holds each and every year brings together government and government contractors. Really a unique opportunity for a dialogue to occur. Something else that's rather special about the World Congress is that the questions are provided anonymously two panels, and particularly this year, the OFP panel, that's OFPP of former administrators, were given questions anonymously. This gave the audience the opportunity to ask questions that maybe they'd fear to ask in person. And actually, we had a lot of contractors on the program. And of course, contractors are very careful about what they may say. You, Rob, I know, have some insights as to what's actually happening out there. Not that it was even necessarily verbalized, but you could sense from all of the questions. And it wasn't just a token question that you gave the audience a chance for. It was many questions.
Yeah, half the panel was devoted to the audience's anonymous questions. And I do believe industry is reluctant right now to actually be forthright and to express concerns to government. They think there'll be some type of retribution. Matter of fact, I had a contractor just recently say, look, we go along to get along. Mm-hmm. And I think that really does explain why the dialogue is so important. They need to be comfortable talking to government officials and expressing what kind of problems there are in our acquisition system. That happened here at the NCMA World Congress during this particular panel with the former administrators, and the audience was able to be very forthright about what they think some of the problems are in our system. It's very hard for the government to correct the problems if they don't know what they are.
How can you rectify something you're unaware
exactly,
of? Yes,
exactly.
Yes. And you always look at things, everybody always looks at everything from their eyes, and both of you were on that side. You even mentioned only when you came over to industry did you really get what's happening.
Yeah, and it is really hard. You know, I answer my own telephone.
Yes.
And I notice people don't necessarily do that. Not that I recommend that you answer your own telephone, but it was amazing. It's amazing to me now that I'm on this side in the private sector to see how hard it is to communicate with government and to explain to the government what some of the problems are that need to be corrected.
And then you said, with those problems, we face this big problem about sequestration. Here we are, fall 2013. What's going to happen? What's going to be happening at the end of the year? What do you see in the next couple of months? Insights on that, Rob, Angela?
The budget's only going to get tighter. I think sequestration is going to continue. I think we're going to have to really continue to look at our spending. We're coming up on a debt ceiling issue as well. I think you have to recognize that for contractors and for the government, this increases the tension. It increases what I think you all were talking about in terms of the fear of engagement. Each award is incredibly important to that company and to the future of that company and to employees of company. They're not going to complain. They're not going to raise issues. They're not going to create a negative image for themselves with anyone in the government, even if there are real problems that need to be solved.
For themselves or for their company. They don't want to lose their contract.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, you know, one thing I'm seeing too, Hillary, is that companies are more aggressive as far as marketing to the government. They have to be. It used to be you were pretty sure your options were going to be extended. You were pretty sure that contract you bid for would in fact be awarded. Not today.
Oh, the competition is intense.
Enormous uncertainty. Yes. And so you have a lot of competition, and you have companies being much more aggressive in their marketing to the federal government.
And they have to be. And companies are saying, I hear it all the time, that companies that a firm was never competing with have jumped in to their arenas. And they said we never would have considered them a competitor.
Absolutely.
Never. But they're hungry. All government contractors are hungry.
And they're looking in areas where they haven't looked before because they know that the dollars are tight. They know that they need to look in those areas to stay viable.
Yes. It's actually, I mean, to some degree it's been good because it's made everybody has sharpened the saw. That's good. But it's been tough.
Well, I think so. And they're diversifying. They're moving into different areas where they have not played before, which is good.
Yes.
That's right.
I think the government will benefit from that.
Let's hope the government does benefit. Let's hope that they're watching this morning and listening to some of your advice. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing about the World Congress this year.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hillary.
Now let's move to our Ask the Expert segment and my conversation with Bill Keating of BDO regarding commercial pricing. I have with me this morning an expert in government contracts, Bill Keating. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Glad to have you with us. Bill is the Managing Director of BDO's Government Contracting Advisory Practice. And Bill's going to share with us the fact that there are a number of benefits to pricing of government contracts in the commercial manner.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I think I'd like to start with what is commercial pricing, however.
Yes.
Commercial pricing develops from the notion that there are certain products or services that the government acquires that are normally sold in the commercial marketplace, or are intended to be sold into the commercial marketplace, or are of a type are sold in the commercial marketplace. Therefore, the government can rely on the market forces to determine what is a fair and reasonable price. And when a company qualifies by selling a commercial item, they are able to avoid some of the difficulties that come about when you sell to the government on a cost-justified basis, where you're estimating your direct labor costs, you're estimating your indirect cost rates, you're estimating the cost of all the other direct costs that go into a proposal. What you're able to do is say, our commercial price for this item, or for this service, or for this solution is X. And that's really all you need to do in terms of justifying what the amount is. What you also have to do, however, is justify what is the basis for that assertion.
And provide some documentation,
and provide some
obviously,
documentation
for, that.
for why that's true. But of course, that streamlines the whole process.
Which is cost effective.
And you end up with a whole host of fewer government contract terms and conditions in your contract. One of the things that you don't have, for example, is the Truth Negotiations Act certification requirement. You don't have anything to do with cost accounting standards or the cost principles, and you arrive at a situation where you're able to contract very quickly and simply, much more like it would be if your customer were simply another major corporation.
In the commercial environment.
In the commercial environment.
Yes.
And you can do this directly with the government as a prime contractor, but even as a subcontractor, all the same situation applies, and you're able to contract on a commercial basis as a subcontractor with your prime contractor customer.
And then what about the interactions with the DCAA? How does it help in that arena?
Well, you shouldn't need to talk to DCAA.
At all, right?
Not
yeah,
at all,
it takes them out of the
because
process.
It takes them out of the process, exactly
Okay.
right.
The Defense Contractor Audit Agency, it's a way to avoid dealing with them in any regard. Yeah.
So, in concept, it's a very streamlined approach to contracting that relies on market forces to determine fair and reasonable prices, and you don't have to develop systems or techniques or any special things in order to do your pricing for that kind of contract.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. Thank you for sharing that with our audience.
All right.
I watch Government Contract Weekly every Sunday. It really gives me great insights into what's going on in the government contracting community. It's changing really almost daily. It really gives me great opportunity to see other leaders and get some of their thoughts on what they're doing in the market, what's driving them. It gives me some great partnership ideas. So it's just tremendously valuable to me, and I won't miss it next Sunday.
Our thanks goes out to Jim Jaska, President Government, AECOM, NCMA Fellow and prominent attorney Rob Burton, along with Angela Stiles, head of the Government Contracting Group at Crowell & Mooring. And of course, Bill Keating, Managing Director, Government Advisory Practice, BDO. As always, our thanks also goes out to you, the viewers of Government Contracting Weekly, for making our program a regular part of your weekly learning.
You've been watching Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored each week by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. For additional information, comments, questions, or suggestions, please write us at governmentcontractingweekly.com.